All right, Bill, what's the big story of the week?
I think the big story of the week is the collapse of the Biden administration. Overall collapse. So even the dishonest corporate media, they don't know where to go. And I did an experiment on the night when the three generals and the Secretary of Defense, the brilliant Lloyd Austin.
Boy, doesn't he fill you with confidence?
He is a warrior in the mode of Attila.
Yeah.
He is just
fear of God. Yeah, no, he's...
Tell everybody. So anyway, it was pretty devastating, a sitting president of the United States, to have his top commanders in the Pentagon say, yeah, we told him keep 25 to 3,500 troops so you wouldn't have a debacle in Afghanistan. We could fulfill our responsibilities, our moral responsibilities, to evacuate people, and then perhaps keep the Taliban at bay so there could be some kind of negotiation. So all four of the people involved in those conversations said that. And then Biden goes, oh, I didn't hear anybody say that. Okay. So that's your lead story on any level for any news agency. So I had all three cable news operations on at 9 o'clock at night. Maddow on NBC News leads with the January 6th attack on the Capitol. I don't know whether she just figured that out it happened. I don't know. But that was her lead story. Over on CNN, Cuomo leads with how conservatives are being mean to General Milley. I mean, I'm sitting there with my... And then Hannity on Fox, he did the proper thing. He led with the Pentagon contradicting the commander-in-chief. So what does this say to the United States of America when you have two of the most powerful information agencies in the world, NBC, Comcast, and AT&T, CNN, actively deceiving you actively? They know what they're doing. And yet there is absolutely no way for anyone to hold them accountable other than not watching them, which has, of course, happened. You know, they have no audience. But just the corruption level of the information flow to the American people is at an all-time high. We have never had a worse media in the history of this republic.
Well, that's why we're in the shape we're in. But Bill, let me ask you. I think the problem that we have in the country is there is no accountability. There is no deterrence, and deterrent is really important to humans. If I touch the electric fence and it never shocks me, it's not going to keep me in place. And there is no deterrent. And I don't mean an electric fence. I mean just even shame. There's no shame. When I saw these hearings and then I talked to the senators afterwards, I said, so now what? Well, what? We know now the president lied to us. We know that even if he didn't lie to us, this man is incompetent. We know now that the Pentagon went along with it. Nobody, they said we ought to do this, but nobody afterwards said, look, this can never happen again. We have a lack of any kind of deterrence at all throughout society. What's the big deal about these hearings? So we know this. And then what?
Well, hopefully they'll vote out Democrats in 2022. Because the system the Constitution of the United States does not hold people accountable for moral failings. That's a criminal justice system, all right? So you have, in my opinion, a moral failing on the part of maybe most Americans, because they either don't pay attention at all to their country, don't care, they only care about their individual pursuits, or they are dishonest about the performance of the people they vote for. So when you see the job approval polls, you still have 40% of the country saying, hey, Biden's doing a good job.
How is that possible?
Well, who are these people? Who are they? No intelligent person could think that Joe Biden's doing a good job because you ask one simple question. In the 9 months that he's been president, give me one problem that he solved.
Give me one problem that isn't worse than it was before.
Yeah, I mean, you can take it, but I'm a simple man. I am the simplest man. That's a very simple question, all right, to anybody. Give me one thing that he's done, just one, that's improved this nation. And you can't, because as you just said, everything that he has been involved with is a disaster. Everything. From the COVID mandates to the energy policies, to the economic policies, to the inflation, to Afghanistan, to the collapsing southern border, to the social woke business, the denial of due process, right across the board. There isn't anything this man has done or stood for that's improved America. And do you think it's going to get better? I mean, they're so frightened. They are the people who control Joe Biden. They're frightened now. This is what I don't think people understand this. They know how bad it is in the White House. I mean, Psaki, the minister of propaganda, gets out and gives you all this, we don't have open borders. No, that's not what he really, she's just like a robot. They tell her what to say, she says it, doesn't even think about it. Okay, but the people who really run the show, they can see the public polls. They can see how screwed up this presidency is. So what are they doing? They're just keeping him away from everybody. He's just isolated in that building, the White House. There's no access to him. And, you would think that Americans would get uneasy, and many of us are, but there is no mechanism to do anything about it until a year from this November, the midterm elections. That's the only mechanism that we have under the Constitution. We elected this guy, and he's there for 4 years. You neutralize him next November 22 with the Republicans taking back the House and Senate, then he's done. Can't do any more damage because you got him in a hole, and he's not going to be proactive with executive orders. He's just going to stay there in his jammies for 2 more years. Okay, so that's the only mechanism.
So let me ask you this: was the generals turning on him the same day that Barack Obama turned on him on the border? Is this a sign that they're trying to distance themselves to minimize the damage, or do they even care? Because if a Republican president were doing things this poorly, the GOP, even as spineless as they are, they would be standing up, and you would be hearing a lot of GOP voters and members in Congress and the Senate saying, this president has got to turn his policies. But they're not saying that. Or are they?
No, the Democrats aren't, but I'm not so sure the Republicans would do that either. I maybe they would.
With these kind of polling numbers?
I don't even. I just, I don't see a lot of real nobility in the GOP.
No, I don't either. But I just thought this to save themselves.
Yes, policies are better. If you look at the Trump policies for 4 years, they were light years ahead of what the Democrats are trying to do. I mean, that's not even a debatable issue. But once you get into, you asked about the generals. They were under oath. They had to tell the truth. Okay? Because if they lied, then they could be prosecuted.
Yeah, they could be, but they wouldn't be. No, they wouldn't.
So it wasn't a matter of they walked in to throw Biden under the bus. They didn't want to be there. They didn't want to have to say that. Okay? But they had to tell the truth because they're under oath. Okay, so they did. And now they go back across the river to the Pentagon. Milley is a dead man walking. He's not going to be there much longer. Austin they're not going to get rid of. But the American public knows they've been misled, lied to, whatever word you want to use. But then it comes back to, did Biden lie on purpose? All right, did he lie knowing the truth? That's the definition of a mortal sin, okay, in the Catholic religion. Did you know what you were saying was untrue when you said it.
May I direct you to the George Stephanopoulos, and you will be unique.
Of course.
Hang on, you will be unique in this. I don't know if you've caught this yet, but I've wanted to talk to you about this because if you go back and look at it, you'll have a really good view of this. When Stephanopoulos first says that, look, your Pentagon said, that's when Joe Biden first, and this is not the clip that's being played. That's when he said, no, that was never said to me. And Stephanopoulos goes back in and says, wait a minute. And that's where the clip starts, right after the wait a minute.
No, I use the whole thing.
Okay, right. Okay. But then after he's done, there's an edit. And Joe Biden picks it up and he's like, look, and he's together. I think that George Stephanopoulos knew the real facts, questioned him, and was shocked when the president lied about it. Just shocked.
Maybe. But again, it goes back to, does Biden know what he's saying? Does he understand what he's saying?
Yes, he does.
All right. Well, I think a case can be made that the guy is so out of it that he can't process information at all. It's it's like a fifth grader when you catch him doing something wrong in school and they'll say, well, a dog ate the homework, or, he almost panics. But look, I'm not a psychologist. The fact of the matter is he misled the country, misled everybody. Now, let me ask you a question, Beck. When Disney edited out the Obama statement that an open border is not sustainable on Good Morning America, is not that the end of Walt Disney Company's credibility in every area? Isn't that the end of it?
Well, in every area, no. Fantasyland is part of the area that they oversee. So Fantasyland, they're good.
That is so corrupt.
When it comes to news, ABC, NBC, CBS, CNN, they have no credibility left. At least in my book, there's no.
No, I think that's true for everybody. I mean, even the progressive far left lunatics. No, it's not an honest presentation, okay? But that is so egregious. So I worked for ABC, as you know, for 2 years. I worked for Peter Jennings. And if on World News Tonight, if an editor or a producer had taken out a key phrase from a president of the United States, Barack Obama, that says open borders are unsustainable, if they had edited that out, anybody associated with that would have been fired on the spot. I mean, that's the difference. See, I can put this all into perspective because I worked for these news organizations. I know what happened back then, and I know what's happening now. And the level of corruption on part of the corporate media, as I said, is unprecedented. So when you have this, then the American people cannot get honest information. And that's what we're seeing here in this country, that you have this big block of people who are living, as you just said, in fantasy land. They think that you can spend $3.5 trillion on social welfare / climate change programs and not go bankrupt.